The marble halls of the Galactic Council chambers glittered under the light of 3 suns. 200 species from across the Milky Way gathered here on Centauri Prime, each with their own goals and desires. Today, the chamber felt colder than usual. Ambassador John Howard stood tall at the speaking platform. His gray suit was perfectly pressed, his blue tie straight. For 20 years, he had represented Earth in this chamber. Today would be his last day. "The vote is complete," announced Council Elder Zix Terra, her purple scales gleaming as she towered over the podium. "The motion to restrict human expansion into the Orion sector has passed." A low murmur rippled through the chamber. This was the 3rd restriction placed on humans in 10 years. Howard's face remained calm, but the muscle in his jaw twitched. "Earth requests permission to address the Council," Howard said. Zix Terra waved a clawed hand. "Granted, though the matter is settled." Lieutenant Samantha Miller watched from the human delegation's seats. Her brown eyes never left Howard as he cleared his throat. She knew what was coming. Every human in the room did. "For 83 years, humanity has been part of this council," Howard began. His voice was quiet but carried to every corner of the room. "We joined with hope and wonder. We brought our art, our science, our trade. We followed your rules. We limited our growth. We shared our medicines that have saved billions of your people." The Voltar delegate fluttered his wings nervously. The Brel representative shifted in her water tank. "3 times now, this council has voted to keep humans contained," Howard continued. "You call us aggressive. You call us destabilizing. Yet when the Krell pirates attacked Outpost 7, it was human ships that came to help." Zix Terra's inner eyelids blinked with irritation. "Ambassador Howard, we have heard these arguments before. The vote is complete." Howard nodded slowly. "Yes, the vote is complete. And so is humanity's patience." The room grew still. Even the floating gas delegates stopped their eternal spinning. "By authority of the Earth Unified Government, I formally withdraw humanity from the Galactic Council, effective immediately." Chaos erupted. Delegates shouted over each other. The Drex ambassador pounded his stone fists on his desk until it cracked. Zix Terra called for order, her voice booming over the noise. "You cannot withdraw. The economic agreements, the defense treaties, are all null and void, as per Section 12 of the Council Charter." Howard finished for her. "We have prepared data packets with transition plans for all affected parties. They are being transmitted now." Lieutenant Miller touched the small device on her wrist. Across the chamber, delegates received the notifications. Their reactions ranged from shock to anger to fear. "This is madness," said the Urson delegate, his furry face twisted in concern. "Humanity benefits greatly from council membership." "Does it?" Howard asked simply. "We have recorded 412 instances where human advancement was blocked by council vote. 2,000 proposals rejected. Yet we continue to advance. It makes us wonder what we might achieve on our own." Zix Terra leaned forward. "Be reasonable, Howard. Without council protection, you will be vulnerable. There are species who would take advantage." "We'll take our chances," Howard said. He unpinned the golden council emblem from his lapel and placed it on the podium. "Earth's borders will close to all council traffic in 30 days. We suggest you prepare your economies accordingly." He stepped down from the platform. Miller joined him as they walked toward the exit, followed by the entire human delegation. The council remained in stunned silence. As they passed through the grand doors, Miller leaned close to Howard. "They're scared," she whispered. Howard nodded. "They should be. Do you think they have any idea what we've been holding back?" A small smile touched Howard's lips. "No. And that's why the galaxy is about to change. They'd wanted to keep the tiger in a cage. Now they get to see it run free." The doors closed behind them with a final heavy thud. In the chambers, the arguing had already begun. The universe held its breath, not yet realizing it had just begun to tremble. 6 months passed since Earth walked away from the Galactic Council. The snow fell gently outside the tall windows of Earth's Central Command in the North American sector. Inside, the atmosphere was anything but gentle. General Eric Taylor paced the conference room, his boots making sharp sounds on the polished floor. His weathered face showed the strain of recent months. Maps and charts covered the walls, showing the position of every human colony and ship across the galaxy. "Our borders are secure," he reported to the 6 people seated at the table. "No Council ships have attempted to cross the boundary lines in the past 3 weeks. Secretary William Hayes nodded. His dark skin contrasted with his silver hair. As the representative of Earth's unified government, his decisions carried the weight of 7 billion lives. "And the economic impact?" he asked. "On them or us?" Taylor stopped pacing. "Because we're doing fine." "They're not." The door slid open, and Dr. Lisa Brown entered. Her lab coat was rumpled, her red hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Dark circles under her eyes showed she hadn't slept much. "Sorry I'm late," she said, dropping a stack of data tablets on the table. The final tests took longer than expected. Hayes gestured to an empty chair. "Doctor, please tell us you have good news." Lisa smiled for the first time in days. "The Prometheus protocol works. 100%. The room fell silent. Taylor sat down heavily. "You're certain?" he asked. "Absolutely." Lisa tapped one of the tablets, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed a small device about the size of a coffee mug. "This can manipulate gravitational fields in ways the Council believes impossible. We can create shields that nothing can penetrate. We can move planets if we want to." "And they have no idea we have this technology?" Hayes asked. Taylor shook his head. "We've kept it hidden for 15 years. The Council would have forced us to share it or destroy it." Lisa pointed to the hologram. "This is just the beginning. Without Council restrictions, we've made more progress in 6 months than in the previous 5 years." A young officer entered and handed Taylor a message. The general read it quickly. "Well, well," he said with a small smile. "It seems 3 Council species have requested emergency meetings. Their economies are already failing without human trade." Hayes tapped his fingers on the table. "Let them wait another month. Let's see how the others react." "The Araxians are the worst hit," Taylor added. "Zix Terra's people relied heavily on our medical supplies." "Ironic," Lisa said. "The same people who pushed hardest to contain us now need us the most." Hayes stood up and walked to the window. The snow continued to fall on the busy streets below. "For too long, we let them hold us back. We played nice. We followed their rules." He turned to face the others. "No more. Humanity will reach its full potential now." "Sir," Taylor said, "we've received reports that some Council species are already fighting among themselves. Resources that humans use to provide are becoming scarce." "And our colonies?" Hayes asked. "Thriving." Taylor smiled. "The hidden defense systems are in place. Any attempt to attack a human settlement will receive a very unpleasant surprise." Lisa gathered her tablets. "I should get back to the lab. We're testing the faster-than-light communication system next." "Another technology the Council said was impossible?" Hayes asked. "Exactly." Lisa headed for the door but paused. "You know what the funny thing is? We could have solved their problems, made the galaxy better for everyone, but they were too afraid to let us try." After she left, Hayes turned to Taylor. "Deploy the gravity tech to all colonial outposts. Quietly. I want every human settlement protected within 30 days." Taylor nodded. "And if the Council comes begging for help, then they'll learn what it costs to underestimate humanity," Hayes said. "The universe has only felt the first tremor. The earthquake is still coming." The trading hub of Nexus VII buzzed with activity, but not the kind it was used to. 1 year after humans left the Council, the sprawling space station felt different. Shops that once sold human goods stood empty. Prices for basic items had doubled, then tripled. Vaxmol, A Krell merchant lord stared at the financial reports on his screen. His ridged forehead wrinkled even more than usual as he read the numbers. Half his fortune was gone. His scaled fingers tapped nervously on the desk. "My lord," his assistant called from the doorway. "A human ship has docked at Bay 12. Vaxmol jumped to his feet. "A human ship? Here? After all this time?" "Yes, my lord. The Star Voyager, a merchant vessel under Captain Olivia Martinez." Vaxmol hurried through the crowded corridors of the station. Beings of all shapes and sizes pressed against viewing windows, trying to see the human ship. It had been months since anyone had seen one. The Star Voyager wasn't like the human ships Vaxmol remembered. It was sleeker, with strange blue lights pulsing along its hull. No visible engines, no weapon ports, yet something about it made his scales itch. Captain Olivia Martinez walked down the boarding ramp. Her dark hair was pulled back in a simple style, her uniform clean, but without decorations. 4 crew members followed her. "Captain Martinez," Vaxmol called out, pushing through the crowd. "I am Vaxmol, head of the Krell Trading Guild on Nexus VI. Your arrival is unexpected." Martinez smiled. "We're here on a simple supply run. Nothing fancy. But human space has been closed. To Council ships," she corrected. "We never said humans wouldn't travel. We're just selective about where we go now." A man in a gray Council uniform approached. His eyes locked on Martinez with an intensity that made Vaxmol nervous. "Captain," the man said, "I'm Inspector Greg Bennett, Council Security." "A human working for the Council." Martinez raised an eyebrow. "Interesting choice, Inspector." Bennett's face remained neutral. "Some of us believed in what the Council stands for. May I ask what brings you to Nexus VI? "Trade. Simple as that." Martinez gestured to her crew, who began unloading crates. "Medical supplies, mostly. Things that have become hard to find." Vaxmol's eyes widened. "I will pay top price." "I'm sure you will," Martinez said. "But we're not here to fix the Council's economy. Just to help a few friends." Bennett stepped closer to the ship, pulling out a small device. "Standard procedure, Captain. I need to scan your vessel." Martinez smiled. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." Bennett ignored her and activated the scanner. Nothing happened. He frowned and tried again. "Curious," Martinez said. "Your equipment seems to be malfunctioning." From the crowd, a Threlk officer pushed forward. The insectoid being clicked its mandibles angrily. "Human vessel will submit to scan," it demanded, "by Council authority." The Threlk raised its claw, and a small warship hovering outside the station turned toward the Star Voyager. Green targeting lights appeared on Martinez's ship. "Last chance," the Threlk clicked. "Submit to scan." Martinez sighed. "We're not under Council jurisdiction anymore, but go ahead, try your scan." The Threlk officer made a sharp gesture. The warship fired its scanning beam. The beam hit the Star Voyager and bounced back. Before anyone could react, the Threlk ship went dark. It floated lifeless. All systems shut down. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The Threlk officer backed away. "What did you do?" Bennett asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Nothing aggressive," Martinez said calmly. "Just a reflection. Their own technology turned back on itself." She turned to Vaxmol. "Now, about those medical supplies. Who needs them most?" Vaxmol stared at the dead Threlk ship, then back at Martinez. For the first time, he understood what the Council had lost when humans left. "Everyone," he said. "Everyone needs them." Martinez nodded. "Then we'll start there. But remember, this is charity, not dependence. The galaxy needs to learn to live without relying on humans for everything. Or, Vaxmol said quietly, the Council needs to learn to treat humans as equals." "That," Martinez said, "would be a start." 2 years had passed since humans left the Council. The Grand Chamber where it all began looked different now. The golden emblems seemed less bright. The marble floors had lost their shine. Even the air felt stale. High Chancellor Drekmore stood at the center podium. Unlike his predecessor Zix Terra, the tall, blue-skinned Palaxian preferred simple robes. He had been elected after Zix Terra was removed from power. Too many blamed her for losing the humans. "This emergency session will now begin," Drekmore announced. His deep voice carried across the chamber without need for amplification. Many seats remained empty. Several smaller races had stopped attending. Some whispered they were talking directly to humans now. "Today, we welcome observers from Earth," Drekmore continued. Murmurs swept through the chamber as the side doors opened. Ambassador Karen White entered, followed by two aides. Her gray suit and confident stride reminded many of John Howard. Behind her walked Admiral Paul Davis in a crisp naval uniform with minimal decorations. "Ambassador White, we appreciate your willingness to hear our concerns," Drekmore said. White nodded but said nothing. She took her seat in the observer section, not the human delegation's old spot. "For 2 years," Drekmore began, "our galaxy has experienced increasing hardship. Trade routes once secured by Council forces now face piracy. Medical supplies once provided by human worlds have grown scarce." The Voltar representative fluttered his wings anxiously. "3 worlds in our system lack basic medicines. Children are dying." White's face remained calm, but her eyes showed she was listening carefully. "The Council formally requests humanity's return," Drekmore said. "We offer increased representation. 2 seats on the High Council. Veto power on expansion matters." Ambassador White finally spoke. "I will convey your offer to Earth, but I make no promises." From the Araxian section, a scaled delegate stood. "This is what happens when we let lesser species dictate terms. Humans should beg to return, not be courted." Admiral Davis raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. Drekmore silenced the Araxian with a look. "We are past such thinking. The humans were never lesser." A side door burst open. A council aide rushed in and whispered urgently to Drekmore. The High Chancellor's blue skin paled. "We have just received word," he announced, "that Diraxia Prime has experienced total crop failure. It is the 5th Council world facing food shortages without human agricultural imports." The chamber erupted in shouting. Species accused each other of hoarding resources. Old rivalries flared. Ambassador White stood. The room quieted immediately. "Earth will send emergency food supplies to Diraxia Prime," she said simply, "as a gesture of goodwill, not as a condition of return." "Thank you," Drekmore said. "Perhaps this can be the beginning of." An alarm sounded. On the large display screen above the chamber, a fleet of 30 warships appeared. The symbol of the Krith Empire marked their hulls. "The Krith test our borders again," a council general announced. "They sense our weakness." Admiral Davis touched his wrist communicator. "Permission to demonstrate, Ambassador." White nodded once. Admiral Davis spoke into his communicator. "Raven Squadron, you are cleared to engage. Non-lethal protocols only." On the screen, 5 small human ships appeared. They were a fraction of the size of the Krith vessels. The council members watched in silence as the tiny fleet moved with impossible speed. They danced around the Krith ships, which fired weapon after weapon but hit nothing. In less than 2 minutes, the Krith fleet scattered in retreat. The human ships had not fired a single shot. "What did they do?" someone whispered. "Gravitational disruption," Admiral Davis said casually. "We simply made their weapons too heavy to fire effectively." Ambassador White gathered her notes. "High Chancellor, I will bring your proposal to Earth. In the meantime, I suggest the Council consider why humans left in the first place. We didn't want to rule. We just wanted respect." As she walked out, Drekmore called after her. "And if we give that respect, what then?" White paused at the door. "Then perhaps the trembling can stop, and we can build something better together." The planet New Montana was the furthest human colony from Earth. Tall mountains and wide plains made it look much like its namesake back on the homeworld. The colony was just 5 years old, home to only 30,000 humans. Governor Frank Wilson stood on the balcony of the small government building. The morning sun cast long shadows across the settlement. He looked like a typical frontier leader, practical clothes, weathered face, and eyes that missed nothing. "Beautiful morning," he said to the woman who joined him. Colonel Michelle Cooper nodded. Her uniform was simple but crisp, her brown hair cut short for practicality. "Beautiful and quiet," she agreed. "For now." Wilson sighed. "They're really coming then?" "Yes, our deep space sensors picked them up 6 hours ago. 53 ships. The Varkian raiders have decided we're easy targets now that we've left the Council." The Varkian raiders were feared across the galaxy. Pirates and slavers, they attacked weak settlements and disappeared before help could arrive. For centuries, even the Council had failed to stop them. "How long?" Wilson asked. "They'll reach orbit in about 4 hours," Cooper replied. "I've activated our defense protocols. All civilians are moving to the underground shelters." Wilson nodded. New Montana appeared to have minimal defenses, just one small military base with a few outdated ships. That was what the galaxy saw. They had no idea what was really here. 4 hours later, the sky darkened as 53 raider ships entered orbit. Their black hulls blocked the sun, casting grim shadows on the colony below. In his command center, Pirate Lord Krasner grinned, showing sharp teeth. His red skin was covered in battle scars, and a dozen trophies from previous conquests hung from his belt. "Look at this pathetic human colony," he growled to his crew. "No Council ships to protect them. Just a few old defense turrets. This will be easy." His second-in-command, a nervous yellow-skinned alien, pointed at the scanner. "My lord, should we scan for hidden defenses?" Krasner laughed. "Waste of time. We have 53 warships. They have nothing." He pressed a button on his chair. "All ships, begin landing operations. I want slaves and treasure by nightfall." The raider ships descended through the atmosphere, weapons charged. They expected token resistance at most. They did not expect what happened next. Colonel Cooper sat in a small underground room filled with advanced technology. With calm precision, she pressed a series of controls. "Planetary shield activated," she announced. Above the colony, the air shimmered. The first raider ships hit the invisible barrier and bounced off, engines screaming in protest. Krasner stood in shock. "What is this? Shields? Impossible. This colony is too small for planetary shields." His second-in-command frantically worked the controls. "It's some technology we've never seen before. We can't penetrate it." "Pull back," Krasner ordered. "Regroup and hit it with everything we have." The raider fleet rose higher, preparing for a coordinated attack. That was when Colonel Cooper activated the second phase. "Gravity web deployed," she said. From 5 points around the colony, invisible waves spread upward. The raiders' ships suddenly stopped moving. They hung in the sky, unable to advance or retreat. Governor Wilson watched from his window as the fearsome raider fleet floated helplessly above. "Should we take them out?" Cooper asked. Wilson shook his head. "No, capture them intact. I want the galaxy to see what happens when someone tests human defenses." Within an hour, all 53 ships were secured. Not a single human had been injured. Not a single shot had been fired. A day later, Council space erupted with the news. A small human colony had captured the entire Varkian raider fleet, a threat that had plagued the galaxy for centuries. In the Council chambers, High Chancellor Drekmore read the reports with a growing sense of unease. "They could have done this at any time," he whispered. "All those years, they had this power and never used it." His aide looked troubled. "What do you think they're capable of now, without our restrictions?" Drekmore had no answer. But for the first time, he truly understood why the universe trembled. 3 years after humans left the Council, a new space station hung in neutral territory. Unlike the Grand Council stations with their decorative towers and golden emblems, Harmony Station was simple and practical. A perfect circle with 4 extending arms, it rotated slowly against the backdrop of stars. Inside, beings from 12 council races gathered in a large meeting room. They sat nervously, glancing at each other with suspicion. These weren't official council representatives, but desperate species acting alone. The doors slid open. Dr. Alan Phillips walked in with 4 human assistants. His simple white shirt and black pants lacked any official markings, with his gray beard and kind eyes. He looked more like a teacher than a diplomat. Commander Julia Hoffman followed behind him, her uniform bearing only a small earth patch. Her alert eyes scanned the room, noting every detail. "Thank you all for coming," Dr. Phillips said. He placed a small device on the table. "I understand you're taking risks by meeting with us." A Brel representative bubbled in her water tank. "The Council forbids direct negotiation with humans, but we have little choice now." A tall, thin Cygnon nodded. "3 of our colony worlds face starvation. The trading networks have collapsed." The Voltar delegate fluttered nervous wings. "The Krith Empire expands unchecked without human ships to balance power in our sector." Dr. Phillips nodded sympathetically. "I understand. That's why we agreed to this meeting." He touched the device on the table. "What I'm about to show you has been kept secret even from our former council allies." A hologram appeared above the table. It showed a complex network of lines connecting distant points. "This is a communication network," Phillips explained. "It allows instant messages across any distance. No delay. No signal degradation." The room fell silent. Faster-than-light communication had been deemed impossible by council scientists for centuries. "How?" asked the Palaxian delegate. "The laws of physics are more flexible than the council believed," Phillips finished with a smile. "This is just the beginning." He changed the hologram. Now it showed a barren planet transforming. Oceans formed. Plants grew. Atmosphere thickened. "Our terraforming technology can make dead worlds habitable in months, not centuries," Phillips continued. "We've already transformed 11 planets in human space." The delegates whispered among themselves. Some looked frightened, others amazed. Commander Hoffman stepped forward. "Earth is prepared to offer partnership agreements to individual species, access to these technologies. Trade routes reopened, independent of council approval." The Cygnon shook his head in disbelief. "Why now? Why not when you were part of the council?" "Because the council would have controlled it," Phillips said. "Decided who gets access and who doesn't. We prefer direct agreements with those who treat us as equals." The Brel's translator conveyed her bubbling question. "What does Earth want in return?" "Fair trade, cultural exchange, and a promise that these technologies will not be used for war." The delegates looked at each other. The offer was more generous than anyone expected. "I must ask," said the Voltar representative, "why would you help those who were part of a council that restricted you?" Phillips smiled. "Because humanity never wanted to rule the galaxy. We just wanted to explore it, to grow without artificial limits." The Palaxian, who had been quiet, finally spoke. "The council feared you would become too powerful. And now we have," Commander Hoffman said bluntly. "But look how we use that power. Not conquest, not revenge, but outstretched hands." 7 of the 12 delegates signed agreements that day. The others asked for time to consult their governments. As they left, Commander Hoffman approached Dr. Phillips. "That went well," she said quietly. Phillips nodded. "It's a start. The Terran Alliance is taking shape." "By the way," Hoffman added casually, "the mapping project is complete. We now have detailed scans of the entire galaxy." A delegate passing by overheard and stopped in shock. The entire galaxy mapped. Thousands of council ships have been working on that task for centuries. "How?" he began. Hoffman smiled. "We've been busy these past 3 years." As the news spread throughout council space, more tremors shook the old order. The council was beginning to crack. 4 years after humans left the council, The galaxy looked very different. Once smooth trade routes were broken. Once strong alliances had shattered. And a new power had risen from the ashes of the old order. President Laura Collins stood at the window of her office in the Earth Unified Government headquarters. The skyline of New Washington stretched before her, buildings gleaming in the afternoon sun. At 62, her face showed lines of wisdom, her short silver hair framing determined eyes. "Madam President," her aide announced, "Ambassador Stephen Grant has arrived." Grant entered with a data tablet in hand. His diplomatic uniform bore a new emblem, a stylized Earth surrounded by 12 stars. "The final treaties are signed," he reported. 28 former council races have now joined the Terran Alliance. Collins nodded. "And the holdouts?" 14 races remain loyal to what's left of the council, mostly the original founding species, the Araxians, the Palaxians, and the Threlk. "Pride," Collins said. "It's a dangerous thing." A wall screen activated, showing Admiral Henry Morris on the bridge of his flagship. His weathered face was serious beneath his cap. "Madam President, fleet disposition is complete," he reported. 173 ships are now stationed at the agreed checkpoints throughout Terran Alliance space. "Any response from the Council loyalists?" Collins asked. "They're calling it an act of aggression." Their spokesperson, still Zix Terra, apparently back in some position of authority, has declared us a galactic threat. Collins shook her head. "After all this time, they still don't understand." "Should we pull back?" Grant asked, as a gesture of goodwill. "No," Collins said firmly. "Our allies requested protection. The Terran Alliance keeps its promises." The door opened again. Dr. Lisa Brown entered, looking much more rested than she had years ago. Her red hair was now streaked with gray, but her eyes still sparkled with intelligence. "Sorry to interrupt, Madam President, but I thought you should see this immediately." She placed a small cube on the desk. It projected a three-dimensional image of several spiral galaxies. "The Andromeda mission was successful," Brown announced. "Our ships have established the first stable wormhole between galaxies. We can now travel to Andromeda in days instead of millions of years." The room fell silent. Even for humans who had grown used to achieving the impossible, this was extraordinary. "Does anyone outside this room know?" Collins asked. "No, Madam President." Collins walked around the hologram, studying it carefully. "The Council always feared we would become too powerful within this galaxy. They never imagined we would simply move beyond it." "The colonization ships are ready," Brown added. 10,000 volunteers prepared to establish the first extragalactic human presence. Collins smiled. "Approve the mission." Admiral Morris cleared his throat from the screen. "Madam President, I'm receiving an emergency communication. The Council has just formally dissolved. 23 of its remaining members have requested immediate entry into the Terran Alliance." "That leaves just 5 holdouts," Grant said in amazement. "The Araxians are declaring a state of emergency," Morris continued. "They're calling for military action against, quote, human aggression and interference in galactic affairs." "They still think this is about control," Collins said sadly. "It was always about freedom. Freedom to grow, to explore, to reach our potential." She turned to Grant. "Tell the former council members we'll consider their applications on the same terms as everyone else. No special treatment." To Morris, she added, "Keep the fleet on alert but non-aggressive. If the Araxians want to fight, they'll have to start it." Brown gestured to the galaxy hologram. "And Andromeda." Collins smiled. "Proceed as planned. While they're worried about who controls this galaxy, we'll be exploring the next one." As the others left to carry out their orders, Collins looked again at the spinning image of Andromeda. Humanity had come so far since leaving the Council, not by conquering, not by controlling, but by simply refusing to be limited. The old Council had trembled when humans left. The new galaxy would welcome them with open arms. 5 years to the day since humans left the Council, Earth hosted a gathering unlike any before. The new Terran Alliance headquarters in Geneva gleamed under the summer sun. Its design was purposely different from the old council buildings, open, transparent, with gardens and fountains accessible to all. Chancellor Joseph Turner stood on the main stage, set up on the grounds. At 45, he was younger than most expected for the leader of the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. His dark skin contrasted with his formal white suit. No weapons adorned his belt. No guards surrounded him. Before him sat representatives from 42 species, former council members and independent worlds alike, all now part of the Terran Alliance. 5 years ago today, Turner began. Humanity made a choice. We chose freedom over restriction, growth over stagnation, and most importantly, respect over subjugation. In the front row, Admiral Samantha Miller watched with pride. Her journey from lieutenant in the council chambers to admiral of the Alliance fleet had been remarkable. Her uniform now bore the insignia of 5 stars. The old council feared what humanity might become, Turner continued. They saw our potential as a threat, so they did everything possible to contain us. A stir went through the crowd as a small group entered from the side. Leading them was a familiar purple-scaled figure, former Council Elder Zix Terra. Once the most powerful being in the galaxy, now she walked with humble steps. Behind her came the leaders of the 4 other holdout species. Turner nodded to them. We welcome our final guests, the last 5 species to join our alliance. Zix Terra approached the stage. 5 years had dimmed her scales, but not her proud bearing. Chancellor Turner, she said, her voice carrying across the silent gathering. On behalf of the Araxians and our fellow species, I formally request admission to the Terran Alliance. Turner gestured for her to join him on stage. Request granted, Elder Zix Terra. Without conditions or penalties. The past remains in the past. The crowd applauded. Many had expected punishment for those who had opposed humans for so long. I must ask, Zix Terra said quietly when she reached Turner, why accept us now, after all we did to hold humanity back? Turner smiled, because this was never about revenge. It was about building something better. He turned back to the assembled representatives. Today marks not just 5 years since we left the council. It also marks the launch of our greatest endeavor yet. On a massive screen behind him, an image appeared of 10 massive ships preparing to enter a swirling blue portal. Our first colonization fleet departs for the Andromeda Galaxy. A journey that once would take millions of years will now take just 7 days. Gasps rippled through the audience. Even Zix Terra's eyes widened in shock. This technology is now available to all Alliance members, Turner announced. Together, we will explore not just one galaxy, but many. After the ceremony, Admiral Miller found Zix Terra standing alone by one of the fountains. You knew, didn't you? Miller asked. Even back then, you knew what humans were capable of. Zix Terra nodded slowly. We saw the potential. That's why we feared you. For thousands of years, the Council maintained order by keeping the balance of power. Humans threatened that balance. Yet here we are, Miller said, gesturing to the peaceful gathering. No wars, no conquests, just cooperation. I was wrong about humans, Zix Terra admitted. The Council was wrong. We thought your ambition would lead to domination. Our ambition was never to rule the stars, Miller said, only to reach them. As the sun set over Geneva, the colonization fleet departed Earth. The blue portal to Andromeda opened, swallowing the ships one by one. Humans and aliens watched together as humanity took its first step beyond the Milky Way. The universe had indeed trembled when humans left the Council, but not from fear. From the awakening of possibilities long thought impossible. From the first footsteps of a journey without end.